Previously on the Escape Plan, we discussed the timeline between 12:06 to 12:21 p.m., which is the timeline of what happened on June 25th, 2009, leading up to Michael's final moments at his North 100 Carrollwood Drive mansion before leaving for good. But what made him actually leave towards the biggest comeback in international history? This episode will tell the stories of enemies Michael had made along the way due to him outsmarting them during his long-standing career. This episode is also an eye-opener, so stay awake and don't dream, cause this is the Escape Plan, Part 4. The Beatles catalog is one catalog that many people wanted to get their hands on, including Beatles group member Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney would give Michael advice about how much revenue he could gain if he owned the catalogs of other top-selling artists. After the advice was given, Michael joked and told Paul that one day, "I'll own your songs."
To this day, McCartney earns 30% royalty on every Beatles song.
Are you with Rolling Stone?
But he doesn't own any of them. Michael Jackson does.
We wrote 2 songs together, and during lunch or something, he just took me aside. He said, "I'd like some advice." So I felt kind of big brotherly. You know, I'm quite a bit older than him. So I said, for a business, you ought to think about music publishing. It's because it's a very good business. You love music. I'm into it. It does very well. It's a nice, easy business for a musician to be in. And it's a very rewarding business because it's music, it's songs, beautiful songs. So he kind of said, okay, you know, and that was the end of it. And then a couple of weeks later, we were chatting, and he just came up to me and said, "I'm going to buy your songs, you know?" And I went, yeah, great, you know, good one, and we just carried on. And then a few weeks after that, he said, "I'm going to buy your songs." I thought, well, it's a bit of an old joke by now, but very funny, all right, you know. And I still thought he was kidding, you know. And just a few weeks later, just somebody rang me up and said, "Michael Jackson's bought Northern Songs."
It's your whole portfolio.
Oh, yeah, and that's where all the Beatles songs are in. But, you know...
but it's not funny in a way to you, is it?
Well, no, it's not funny at all. But the thing is, there's nothing I can do about it. The fact that isn't funny was the fact that when we were 20, John and I, it was a kind of pretty ordinary publishing deal at the time. But they took the copyrights. So, you know, he bought that company, which was up for sale. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do intend to have a word with him. I spoke to him in L.A., actually.
You did?
Yeah, and said, look, we've got to come to a good understanding.
Michael would take Paul's advice about buying up others' catalogs, which led to him buying ATV for $47.5 million, which also included the Beatles' catalog of over 151 songs. This same advice that Paul gave bit him in the ass, which made him write constant letters to Michael asking him why he purchased the catalog, being that they were supposed to be good friends. Paul also wanted Michael to release the catalog, but Michael would eventually respond to Paul by letting him know that it was just strictly business. Paul refused to accept that answer, and he decided one way or another that he would acquire the Beatles catalog back from Michael. Between the years 1992 and 1995, it is said that Paul McCartney tried to file 2 lawsuits that both failed due to the U.S. law statutes that allowed Michael to retain ownership till he relinquished the catalog, or 56 years would have had to pass so Paul could legally sue for his catalog back. The failed attempts angered Paul and caused them to have disdain for Michael that he retained from speaking about publicly. Matters became worse once Michael sold half of ATV to Sony. This was one of the main reasons that Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson never spoke again. Enter Sony. In 1995, as owner of ATV, Michael would sell 50% of ATV to Sony, which merged the companies together, now being called Sony ATV. Michael already had issues with Sony, which I had explained in the Michael Tried to Warn Us series. Sony wasn't actually satisfied with only having 50% of one of the biggest music catalogs in the world, and having Michael be half owner of Sony was a major hit to Sony's publishing in their pockets, since Michael outsmarted them, and he would be getting half of all incoming revenue that Sony was gaining.
So I'm leaving Sony a free agent. Owning half of Sony. So I own half of Sony's publishing, and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it.
They wanted more, which is why they pushed for Michael's career to fail by not promoting his albums. Michael would expose this, and this exposure only pushed for Sony to take even more drastic measures against him. The media was Michael's biggest enemy. Now, people will say that they could handle millions, if not billions, of people writing articles and creating TV media propaganda about your every move, where damn near all of the stories that were put out were always false and never highlighting the good that you were doing. The war with the media was brought to Michael in full attack once he left the Havenhurst compound to embark on his solo career. He would be bashed from every direction with false stories like the infamous hyperbaric chamber headline. Something good he did for burn victims like himself became the biggest joke that the media could release at the time.
You know, there is that argument that you rely on publicity to sell your albums, for your concerts.
When I approve
you
of
want
something,
it.
yes.
But you can't always control the press. You can't approve of everything. You can't invite them in again and again, and then at a certain point close them out.
Yes, you can.
Michael would fight the media back with story plants of his own, and big media was so ignorant about the stories they put out, they actually believe they discovered them, when in fact they were plants just to show how easily manipulated the media could be. Michael learned how to toy with the media and gave them what they wanted until they went too far. He would eventually use the media the way they used him in preparation for making his escape. January 2009, as discussed in Part 1 of the Escape Plan, a random article from the National Enquirer would surface with a blatant story plant of Michael having 6 months to live. The 6th month of the year, of course, is June, the same month that the public death would take place. Was the National Enquirer wrong about what was coming? No. This article was to prep us for what we was going to see later that year in June 2009.
These will be my final show performances in London. This will be it. This is it. And when I say this is it, it really means this is it.
By March 2009, Michael would announce to the world his big comeback with the This Is It concert series, but what we saw at that announcement was a slimmer Michael Jackson that appeared more thinner than usual. This weight loss was done to match up to the story planted in the National Enquirer about him not being well, when in all actuality the man was extremely healthy. It goes a step further. During the final months, Michael also had doubles appear in public as well as in the This Is It rehearsals. One double is spotted out shopping in April 2009. When comparing hands to the real Michael, they just don't match. Michael's hands at the time were more on the wrinkled side as he was aged 50. Not only that, but Michael's nails are a dead giveaway. His nails still contain dark undertones from the melanin his body once had before the vitiligo completely had taken over. The double that was out in public in April 2009 on break from rehearsal was not Michael. Even in the This Is It movie, these doubles played an integral part in giving off the illusion of Michael not being healthy as a part of what was to come on June 25, 2009. I've spoken about Dr. Tomei R. Tomei and a few of these people in several other past videos, but just in case you missed it, I will go over it here. Now, Dr. Tomei, as he likes to be called, acted as Michael's manager during the time that the deal for the This Is It concerts were in the pre-stages of planning. The concert series would come to Michael through Tomei after Tomei had arranged for Michael to be helped out of his debt owed for the Neverland Ranch by using a contact of his named Thomas Barak of a company named Colony Capital. Michael would sell half the property to Colony Capital for $35 million, which put him in a permanent business tie with that company. Now, Thomas Barak would contact Tomei in hopes of fully buying out the Neverland Ranch, but Michael would decline that offer. Another offer would come into play when Tomei and Thomas Barak would arrange a deal with AEG Live for the biggest comeback in musical history. This Is It was produced by Philip Anschutz and Brandy Randy Phillips through AEG Live, in which Michael was set to perform 10 shows for $55 million, while AEG, Randy Phillips, Tomei, and Thomas Barak had discussed adding on more shows onto the concert series, which now made it a total of 50 shows, still at the price of $50 million for Michael, while the rest of the show's producers were set to rake in an estimated amount somewhere around $125 to $150 million. This would have been the revenue garnered between ticket sales and souvenirs from these concerts. The shady part was, Michael only agreed to 10 shows. The other 40 were okayed by Dr. Tomei without the permission of Michael, through the forging of Michael's signature. Michael was told by his psychic advisor June Gatlin to check into Dr. Tomei. Michael did and knew that he had another enemy on his hands. Michael would fire Tomei, but Tomei continued to do business for Michael with AEG, being that the signature on the contracts that were signed was believed to be Michael's. Tomei managing Michael completely during the London tours was a part of the contract. Between Tomei scamming Michael and being physically abusive to him, as I stated in Xscape Plan Part 2, Michael also had AEG, Randy Phillips, and Thomas Barak against him and backing up Tomei in the bogus contract that left him binded to 50 shows to complete with not the right amount of money to show for it. Now, this is the part of the video where fans will agree but more will disagree with what I'm about to say. As much as Michael loved us as fans, Michael was not a fan of touring despite he loved performing. This was something that he said himself in the past within an interview.
The record company usually like for you to support your album and go on tour. And I don't like to. I do like relating to the fans, giving the fans a chance to see you face to face.
Well, can we just do it again without just the negative saying that you don't like the tour? Just 'cause
I don't like it though.
I know, but
I go through
what
hell.
Are you setting up though? I don't understand.
I go through hell touring. Okay, then I'll make it positive then.
Yeah, it's just.
Well, you know the truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
And action, Michael.
I love to tour.
In that interview, people will say that he was just joking around and speaking sarcastically, but that was definitely the reality, because touring always took its toll on his body each time that he prepared for one. Now, 50 shows was lightweight compared to the amounts of shows that Michael completed during past tours, but the money made during past tours was determined by himself and not by a bogus contract. Now, back to earlier on when I mentioned the doubles and appearance of Michael during the rehearsals. AEG, in preparation for the tours, had to insure Michael, but to be insured he had to pass a medical examination that all producers involved knew that he needed to pass. Although Michael was unhealthy, he arranged for a double to be the one to take the physical exam, which still declared him healthy even though the double used appeared to be very frail and unhealthy. This is something that the producers noticed but didn't care. This showed Michael just how far they would go to make $1 off his name despite he was supposed to have been sickly through the looks of this double, and this also showed how fast he needed to push his plan to escape to the forefront and leave this life as an entertainer behind for good, also while outsmarting the ones who tried to leave him in more debt than he came into production with. Michael knows that in the music industry, that an artist's name is worth more dead than alive. This escape plan video is connected to my This Is It series, which can be found on my channel. Thank you everyone for tuning into this video. Be on the lookout for a live This Is It Part 7 featuring Dove Angel D. Please continue to like, subscribe, and comment on these videos as more is coming, and I will see you guys next time. Take care, everyone.